Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. I was just drinking from my Mr. Strong cup. Hey guys, it's Richard from RCL Fitness. Just wanted to post up a video and probably post up some more, hopefully in the future, um, giving pointers and tips and going into things like goal setting and having a warrior mindset, all these sorts of things. Help you guys get motivated and give you the tools that you need to progress with whatever fitness related activity or goal that you might have. So, this one is about the importance of tracking your food intake. So, I must admit that in the past, I've been quite guilty of not tracking my food intake myself. Um, this is probably largely due to having some or associating that with competition prep, so bodybuilding comp prep, and having some bad experiences there. But there's no reason why it needs to be something that is as a labor or is really difficult, especially nowadays and age where we've got these little beauties, the iPhones. You've got your Samsungs with the Android apps and all that sort of stuff. So all the tools are there. It's just using the tools that are available and making the time for it as well. That's a big one I've found with my clients in the past. It's really just inviting these things into your life and making the time to do it, making it a part of your daily schedule. Once it is, I mean, it's easy. It's just as easy as brushing your teeth of a morning. So basically, what I soon realized with not tracking my intake and having things such as strength goals where I had a specific strength goal, say my squats, I want to get to 200 kilos with that. My deadlifts, I want to bring those up to 250. I mean, that's ambitious, but these are the goals that I have. And for me to have specific goals like that and not be specifically tracking my calorie intake or my macro intake is really you're pissing in the wind. You don't know where to start, where to end, where you need to be in 2 to 3 weeks' time. So I soon realised that if I wanted to increasingly get stronger and make improvements in my body composition, I need to know at least what my calorie intake is. Also, I mean, how do you know if you're getting enough protein to make the improvements that you want to make? With how are you supporting all that muscle breakdown or metabolic stress in the gym with protein intake? How do you know you're getting enough protein? You might be eating a lot through the day. You might feel like you're eating a lot every 2 to 3 hours, having your steak, your chicken, fish, whatever, but you don't really know. So that's what we're talking about here. Now, I'm just referring back to my notes here, but you don't want your work in the gym to be for nothing. Okay, so you need to know a baseline. How much am I currently eating? You may be able to write this down. So you may be a creature of habit, and most bodybuilders are creatures of habit. So you may be able to write down a list of what you eat on a daily, but the measurements could change slightly. If you don't measure your foods, then obviously things are going to be changing there. How much do you need to eat? Do you know how much you need to eat? If you have a goal of increasing weight, then obviously you need to be in a calorie surplus. If you have a goal of decreasing your weight, you need to be in a caloric deficit. So, less calories coming in than are being expended. So all these things you're not really going to know unless you're tracking your food intake. How do I adjust things accordingly? And obviously, the answers to the questions are going to be dependent on your goal as to whether you want to increase your weight, decrease your weight, increase your strength. So knowing what you're currently doing is working, you can't process data that isn't there. So if you don't have a meal plan, or if you're not tracking your intake on, say, MyFitnessPal, which is probably one of the better platforms to track your nutrient intake if you're tracking your calories and your macros, and we can go into that into another video. So if you're not currently tracking it to some extent and measuring your foods, you don't have a baseline. You can't process data that isn't there. How do you make changes accordingly? You can't, because you don't have anything to begin with. So what I'd suggest is, if you don't track your intake, get the MyFitnessPal or even a food diary. I get all my initial, my full-time PT clients initially, they all go on to just writing a food diary. Very simple. Weigh things, write it down, time of the day when you ate, exactly what you ate, all your liquids, basically anything that's going in your mouth, write it down in your food diary. And then over the course of about 2 weeks, you should have a pretty good cross-section of food. And, depending on whether you're maintaining your weight, increasing your weight, or decreasing your weight, you can average out those days over those 2 weeks, and you can adjust accordingly. So you know that if you're maintaining your weight and you have a weight goal, so you want to increase your weight, and then you obviously need to increase your calories because you're only maintaining. If you have a weight loss goal and your weight is still increasing, then obviously we need to decrease those calories. So that's what that's all about. The other things that tracking your intake does is it obviously brings into light all the foods that you eat. So sometimes conveniently you can forget or choose to ignore the poorer choices of food that you make throughout the day. And I see this quite often. It's you either do this consciously, but more often than not, subconsciously, you really just forget about those bad habits or poor choices. Things such as, your daily grande coffee, milked up to the max, and syrups and whatnot. It just becomes a daily norm, and you just desensitized to the fact that is not normal, and that's a lot of extra calories. It's quite calorie dense, those sorts of things. And until you start to write it down, you don't actually realize and go, wow, I was eating some pretty bad foods, and I was probably eating a lot more than I should have been with regards to calories. What else does tracking your food intake allow you to do? It allows you to form a knowledge base as to what foods you're eating regularly and what they're made up of. So obviously, at the end of the day, my goal as a trainer is to give knowledge to my clients, and knowledge is king. At the end of the day, what I want my clients to go away with is all the knowledge of a fit lifestyle. How can they take what we're doing whilst they're paying for it, obviously, during the sessions or outside of sessions, any advice that I might give them, how can they take that and then progress on forward without me? Obviously it's not sustainable to pay for a trainer for years and years on end. I mean, some people do, but do they really make the progress that they want to make whilst they're doing those sessions? It's another thing you've got to ask yourself. So obviously, as I said, knowledge is key. You want to be able to bring on board knowledge of, what are the foods that you're eating on a regular basis? What are they made up of? What's a rough carb content of a potato? Like 200 grams of sweet potato. How many carbs is in that? Most people probably wouldn't have a clue. How much protein is in 100 grams of steak? Most people wouldn't really know. So, and again, if you're tracking this and you're looking at that on your MyFitnessPal or whatever it may be, it'll give you a little bit more of an idea of, you know, what the foods that you're eating are made up of, as a flow-on effect. So basically, that's it, guys. Like as I said, I really wanted to sort of outline some of the reasons why it's important for you to track your food intake. And as I said, I've been guilty in the past of not tracking it myself, and it had an effect on my training and the way I looked, and I didn't really like the way I looked without tracking my food intake. And then as soon as I got out of the mental, the mindset that I had around relating tracking food intake to comp prep, as soon as I got out of that, I was fine. And now it's a matter of, you know, 2 seconds after I eat or after I weigh my food out and have it prepared, ready to go. All I need to do is grab my phone out, enter it in, takes like a minute, and then, you know, it's tracked, and then I can go and eat my food. Most of the time people are like, no, I don't want to do that, you know, like it's too much time out of my day. But really, if you were to add the time up that you were spent tracking your food over the whole day, it might be 5 minutes out of your whole day. So you've got, you know, 24 hours in a day, 5 minutes just to track your food intake and make sure your goals are on track. Okay? So make the time to do that, guys, and I guarantee you will see results flowing. Now, guys, in the comments below, please write down some suggestions on, you know, video content and stuff that you'd like to see. Really looking forward to getting some more content out to you guys, more in the form of videos as well, so you get to see my ugly mug a little more. So all the best, guys. Have a great day. Mr. Strong signing out.